Newcomers. Well, in anticipation and celebration of the DVD release of this season, some of the cast has stopped by to dish for the first time since they played the game. So, don't go anywhere. This is Fiji Fever, the wrap-up show. Welcome back to Fiji Fever, the wrap-up show. Before we bring some of the cast members out, my partner in crime, Jody Boyko, has joined me. So, first of all, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. I'm doing good. So, it's been a long journey to get to this finish line. The DVD release, you know, and this is the most exciting part, is when it finally gets out, after all of our hard work and months of preparation, for people to finally see it. When we've had our first meeting, we came with the idea to have veterans versus newcomers. What expectations did you have about that twist?
It's so hard to have expectations with Survivor because you really truly don't know what's going to happen until you are in the middle of everything. But I think what we were hoping for was a bigger dynamic between the newcomers especially. We kind of knew what to expect from some of the veterans as far as their personalities, but the newcomers were going to be such a different dynamic going in. Mm-hmm. So how they were going to react to each other, we weren't really sure what to expect as far as alliances, and if there were going to be any alliances to bridge the two groups. Mm-hmm. So we were hoping just to have a good show.
Yeah. I found it incredibly interesting to watch this season, because mostly watching the two tribes was like night and day.
Totally.
The veterans had all this baggage from the previous seasons, and I think that each veteran in their own way had something to prove, or to erase, or to something that was associated with their previous season. Dana, who is here today, she'll be out a little later, she comes to mind because because the audience saw this weak girl, and
she's totally not.
And she appeared lost most of the time in Exile Island. And then in Fiji, I think she stepped up her game in every aspect. She did everything in her power to prove herself, I think.
200%.
For this time. And
I saw a totally different game out of it.
And then watching the newcomers embrace the experience and truly get into the game and give it their all. I definitely think that the newcomers shocked the veterans too.
I think so.
And with how well they knew the game. I think they were a little bit underestimated because they thought, they haven't done this. We're the new kids on the block,
right.
And I think they really shocked them. What do you think when you watch the season play out in terms of how both tribes approached the game?
I think that the veterans approached it from a much more mental standpoint, and they were thinking ahead the whole time. Especially Rob, Mike, the two of those guys were planning it out 5-6 moves ahead if they could. Now, granted, there were going to be twists that they wouldn't be able to predict, but I think the thing with the newcomers is that they were just going into the mentality that if we can stay a strong tribe and we can win the challenges, then we're golden. Mm-hmm. And if we hadn't had that last mix-up, that would have worked. Mm-hmm. But you can't just play Survivor from a physical standpoint. You have to be in the mental game.
Mm-hmm. Last season, with Exile Island, they exploded with fanfare, and put the show on the map.
Yeah.
And we both knew that we had to raise the stakes in Fiji,
right.
And up the ante, if you will. I think the personality and drama really fueled Exile Island, and we all knew it was going to be hard for Fiji to get
right.
out of its shadow.
You can't compete.
After this season is released, do you think it will in some ways?
I think
and in what ways do you think it will?
I think it's like comparing apples with oranges. Just like on the CBS version of Survivor, no two seasons are going to be similar. You're going to have different people. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a different dynamic. Even with this season, you can see with fans and favorites on TV. You can't predict, and you can't say, well, this season is better because we had this person on here. Mm-hmm. You've got to look at it from a different standpoint. People are going to be playing the game differently. Mm-hmm. They're going to go in with a different mentality. You've got different personalities, different interaction. Mm-hmm. So you can't look at Exile Island and Fiji and say, well, they're similar, because they're not. They're nothing alike. You've got different people, you've got a different set, you've got different crew, you've got everything is different. So you kind of have to set them apart and look at it within itself
Mm-hmm.
and say, how good was it compared to the potential of what it had to be?
I do have the ability to remove myself while film is
Yeah.
going on because, in my position, I really can't have an opinion. But watching the season back, I felt really torn. I think I'm a back and forth about which tribe I like better.
I did too.
And whom I wanted to win, ultimately. I go back and forth even to this day when I watch the show. How would you describe the season as a whole? If you were to wrap it all up in a package and say, this is what Fiji was, Exile Island was drama and
Right.
and backstabbing. And how would you describe Fiji as a season? I think it was real honest. But what do
It
you
was
think?
very honest, very straightforward. I don't think anyone was playing with the idea that I had to use deception to win. I think they went in thinking, if I play this smart and I play this strong, then I don't have to fall back on deception. And I think it worked. Some people might say that's boring. I don't think so. I'd rather see somebody get to the end based entirely on their brains and entirely on their brawn instead of having to lie and cheat and steal. If you're in with a group of people where that's already started, then you kind of have to adapt to that playing scenario. But I think with the people we were shooting, that wasn't part of their game plan going in. I think if somebody had started the ball rolling and started deceiving and made it a bigger part, then some people would have had to change their strategy.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So luckily we have a season that's a lot more at
Honest.
face value and a lot more honest.
When we return, we're going to meet some of those fresh-faced newcomers who will be going up against the veterans. This is Fiji Fear, the wrap-up show. Stay tuned.